RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD. If you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Tuesday, September 24th. We'll be taking a look at the 10-game MLB DFS slate tonight on DraftKings. So hit your thumbs up buttons on your way in the door. Give me those thumbs. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to always know when we go live. Remember, Grinders Live later today, 5 p.m. Eastern, followed by Crunch Time, where all your last-minute news and questions and picks and plays and obviously the weather report. And you may have to look out for that. We got the weather report up here at rotogrinders.com/weather/MLB. Roth has a bunch of yellow and green and orange. There's stuff going on. Not that much for the actual, like the 10-game slate. If you're playing the turbo early, maybe there's a little bit more weather. But we'll have to take a look at that Chicago White Sox game. The Angels and White Sox may get some rain. Maybe they play through it. Get that update later today. But join with me right now for a first look at this slate is Taylor Smith for the. I think this is good. This is the last show on RotoGrinders Today for MLB for the season, because next Tuesday I won't be here, and then the following Tuesday after that, October 8th, we got NHL, and NHL is so much better than MLB, especially when you've been playing MLB for 6 months. Are you ready to be done with MLB? But I'm assuming, Taylor, you're looking more forward to NBA.
I was muted right away. Good start. I'm still enjoying MLB. I know that the prize pools are dying. Not really today with no football to overlap, but hockey's fun also because it's kind of like baseball, very similar concepts and things like that. So I do enjoy hockey. I am looking forward to basketball, although I know that it's kind of the ultimate grind with everything that goes on with NBA, but looking forward to both of the October sports coming back.
Well, let's take a look at this slate. We got a 10-game slate. Not all that much offense. I mean, outside we got the Coors game, which is going to be chalk, right? We got the Cardinals and the Rockies. The totals are kind of even low for Coors. I mean, it's like 10.5. We got a couple of teams, 4.97 for Minnesota. We got 4.71 for the Yankees. It doesn't look like that offensive of a slate. And then I look at the pitching, and it's not a bad pitching slate. But I don't necessarily consider it like a great pitching slate. We can see here with the bat projections here that you get at RotoGrinders. If you're a bat subscriber, of course, be a premium combo subscriber, especially with all the sports coming up, right? So click on that link in the description, get $40 off your first month. I mean, none of these pitch. I mean, we got Framber Valdez at 10K. We got Logan Gilbert, 9,300. I think they're viable, right? I think you can play them. But, I mean, in the 8K range, Logan Webb, Schwellenbach, Brandon Pfaadt, Bowden Francis, who, the past 2 months have been amazing. Eovaldi, Bailey Ober. I mean, the bat has Bailey Ober as the best point per dollar value on the slate against Miami. But I don't necessarily think he's going to be like massive chalk. We have him at the bat has him at 32% ownership, which is not like insane. Are you going to be living mostly in this 8K range, or are you actually interested in playing Valdez or Gilbert in the high end range, especially when there's not that much offense today? So I don't know. It could be the sign that, this is the best time to play like a value stack when not many teams have high totals. Or maybe the opposite, thinking of, because teams have low totals, I want to make sure to get at least decent bats so I get the most likelihood of getting the top stack. And maybe I can't pay 10K or 9,300 for a pitcher.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be living in the 8K range for the most part. They project kind of better than the top guys anyway. Framber at 10K flat looks fine. The Mariners we've been picking on all year, but he's not historically a high strikeout guy to begin with, more ground balls and stuff, though he has spiked a few big ones. This season, Gilbert, same thing, like picking on the Astros. I don't really see the point in that. They do look a little bit worse if Alvarez is out again, but 9,300, I would just rather take the discount with guys facing the Marlins, the A's, the Red Sox. Schwellenbach, I think, is okay. Logan Webb is okay. Fought, like you mentioned, pretty cheap. So I'm probably living in the cheaper range, but I think the top tier guys are still playable if you're entering, 150.
Okay, so I mean that they wouldn't necessarily, if we put them in buckets like the A bucket, the B bucket, the C bucket, like Gilbert and Valdez, I think are borderline B.
Yeah.
They're. I mean, I don't know what C bucket pitchers there necessarily are. The question is what are the A bucket pitchers? Like I just see a lot of B. Like the only reason that Gilbert and Valdez would be B bucket pitchers is because they're overpriced, not because they're
Yeah.
bad, right? And then we get guys in the 8K range that. Am I excited to play? Like if you told me Bailey Ober was 40% today, like, are you excited to play Bailey Ober, or would you rather just play one of these other 8K pitchers? Like, how would you rank this 8K class? And do you necessarily? I mean, we have. Do you trust Bowden Francis at 8,300? Because, like, I mean, I don't know what's been. Maybe you could explain it. But he's gone on a streak. I mean, if you look in the past, earlier this season, uh, I mean, he was pitching like 2 innings or whatever. I mean, like he just turned into like after the All-Star break. I don't know, and even after the All-Star break, even the Baltimore outing, like it just all of a sudden turned into like a monster in August, and then he's come down to life in September a bit, but still some strong outings. Doesn't walk that many people, but does give up home runs. Do you think people are going to be on board? Do you think Ober Francis or Ober Eovaldi against Oakland? I mean, are those like the chalkier combinations? And is Brandon Fott and Schwellenbach and Logan Webb, are they that far behind them where the ownership should maybe be double on those other guys?
No, they all project. I mean, Ober projects the best against Miami, but like you asked, I'm not excited to play him if he's going to be 40% owned with all the other options in this range that are similarly priced and similarly projected. I think Fott could get steamed up a little bit. The Giants are an offense people generally like to pick on. I think he spiked a big game in his last outing, which could affect things a little bit. And he just looks underpriced for who he is. So if anyone's going to be eating into the Ober, Evaldi, Francis ownership, I think it's probably him. And, it is Seattle still. And like I said, a team we've been playing against all season long. I do think Valdez could still be somewhat popular. Not sure if he's going to crack 20% though, so it's probably not popularity you're concerned about.
So would you, out of all these pitchers, would you rank Ober the highest? I mean, outside of ownership. I mean,
I probably would, but I think it's kind of a 1A, 1B with Evaldi. My only question with Evaldi is the Rangers aren't playing for anything, so I don't know if they're going to necessarily give him a full leash, but in terms of projection and matchup, I'm not scared of Oakland in Oakland either.
And he had a pretty poor outing last time out. Fott is someone that is very high variance. I mean, we take a look at Fott's game log. I mean, he regularly gives like up 7+ hits and walks 2 guys. I mean, he's someone that could do really well, or
yeah,
a double, a triple, a home run, and next thing you know, he's giving up 7 earned runs. I'm willing to stay away from Fott if he's going to be popular. But I mean, you can say that about all these pitchers. I mean, like all these pitchers have had multiple outings this year where they've either gone out and struck out 8 and 6 innings with 1 hit, or they've gone out and pitched 3 innings with 4 walks and 8 hits and 10 earned runs, and you're getting negative points.
Yeah.
So let the buyer. I think maybe this is the safest option, Logan Webb. You feel the most, but the problem is that his ceiling is, I think, is a little more limited.
And Arizona doesn't really strike out, and it's pretty good offense overall. I don't think he's going to get really played compared to anyone else in the range. I would keep him in the pool because he is underpriced and decent enough, but I don't think he's safe. I don't think he's exciting. Just the lack of strikeout stuff is kind of worrisome for what he can give you.
So this is kind of one of those weird slates where maybe all these pitchers just go in the B bucket. Like,
yeah, it's one
there's
huge
no A, there's no A
and
bucket,
then,
and there's really no C bucket. It's just like,
yeah,
like I'm not excited about any of these people, and I'm gonna play the two people that are lower owned out of these bunch. Even none of these guys are going to be single digit owned, but like if the steam goes up on Allburn or Evaldi, I'll just play Schwellenbach and Webb, and I won't be excited to. And if you told me that, Ober isn't going to be as popular as you think, it's like, well, I'll play Bailey Ober, and I'm still not excited. Like if Bailey Ober was 20% owned, I'll still be like, oh yeah, okay. If he's going to be 20% owned, I'll play him, but I ain't going to tell all my friends to start building lineups because there's free money out there, right? Because I'm not excited to play Bailey Ober either.
And I assume if anyone's going to get up into 40+% in like higher stakes or, even single entry $12, things like that, it's probably him. So far from a must play, even at 8-6 against Miami. Like there's just plenty of else in this range, plenty of other stuff in this range to offset him. So I don't think he's a must play by any means, to say the least.
Okay, now if you want to build lineups where you're like full stacking cores, you're playing the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Braves, you may have to get some cheap nonsense, like Cheese would say. And Cheese, Dave Potts, is a fantasy baseball Hall of Famer, 2-time Millie winner, and he writes the $1 Million Musings like every weekday for baseball, which is part of our premium content. So go check that out. Remember, click on that link in the description. Get $40 off your first month of a premium combo subscription here. You get all the projections, all the tools, all the sim labs, lineup HQ. You get everything. So definitely Discord access. You get everything. So go check it out for all the sports. Is there any cheaper? Is there anything cheaper than these 8K guys? Like in the 6, is there any cheap nonsense? Mitch Spence. Is Mitch Spence cheap nonsense? Is Jonathan Cannon against the Angels cheap nonsense? Is there anyone that you're willing to take a shot on? We have Clark Schmidt at 7,900 against Baltimore. I guess he could be mixed in with those. He may be a C bucket pitcher, right? He's close enough to the 8K range where I'd rather play those other pitchers, but you're not crazy for taking a shot on Clark Schmidt. Or is there anyone that's the 6K, close to 7K, even cheaper, that you're willing to take a shot on?
It's probably only Mitch Spence and Jonathan Cannon. Spence against the Rangers with no Corey Seager in a good park. Not a good pitcher, but he's been okay. Lee should be fine, I would think, since they've been out of it for a while. Cannon, I think I'd rather play the Angels against him, but that's not a strong take either way. Cannon has been not great either, but you can say the same of the Angels. It is a bad park for pitching, but he's 6'2" on a slate with no cheap pitching otherwise. So I would give the slight edge to Spence, but I don't think either is a priority at all. They're pretty far down the list for me, even at these discounts.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'd rather play the Angels than Jonathan Cannon. So since we're talking about hitting, let's go to the tiers. Okay, we got 10 games. We got 20 teams. Do what we normally do: A, B, C, D, and F on the tiers. These are 5-man stacks on DraftKings. 5-man stacks, which means if you want to play one-offs, 2-mans, whatever, that's not this list. You feel free to play that. There are plenty of teams out there that may be poorly rated from a stack perspective, but maybe I want to play an Aaron Judge one-off, even though the Yankees are low projected, lower on the tiers. So don't consider that, you can't play anyone from the team if they're in an F or a D or whatever. And this is also ownership adjusted, which means if the ownership is low, we ding them up a little. If the ownership is too high, we ding them down a little. Always have to explain that because people look at the tiers and go, "Oh, you're crazy for this team being in the A tier. That's they have the 14th low projected implied total." It's yeah, but they're going to be 2% owned. and they project well. So we're going to bump them up. And then, you can't believe you put the C tier, you put the best offensive team. It's like, yeah, they're going to be 77 million % owned. So yeah, that's why they're in the C tier. Okay. So that's the reason we're playing GPPs here. We're trying to win. So let's get to the elephant in the room, the Coors game, the Cardinals and the Rockies. Cardinals against Ryan Feltner, the Rockies against Michael McGreevy. I'm looking at the bat projection page. The Cardinals are clearly the top projected stack. Rockies number 2. Not that far distance between them and the next kind of tier. And the Rockies are more expensive than the Cardinals, but I expect the Cardinals to be the chalkiest stack on the entire slate. The question is, just because it's chalk doesn't mean it's over-owned. So it really comes down to how owned do you really think the Cardinals are going to be, and is their ownership warranted? And if you think they're going to be actually under-owned at their high ownership, I think they're an A-tier team. If you think they're going to be over-owned, then we're going to bump them down to a B. But I think Cardinals are clearly an A or a B tier stack.
Yeah, they're B at worst. I do wonder about the ownership too, because there's not, like you said, it's not a slate with a ton of offense. And the other good offenses are generally facing pretty good pitchers. So I think they're probably a B for me. I could see them getting steamed up quite a bit just because it's Coors. And like you said, they're cheaper than Colorado. And Colorado's never as owned as the other team in Coors to begin with. So yeah, B, I think it's fine for me. As for Colorado, I'm not getting to them as much at all. It probably is a price thing. They're pretty far down the list for me, even in Coors. I think C is probably fine. I don't expect them to be popular. Do you think they're going to be owned?
I don't think they're. I think their ownership will be inflated because it's Coors compared to other teams that are similarly priced that are probably be less owned. Like we get into this next tier. This next tier is the Padres against Knack, the Yankees against Kramer, the Braves against Severino, and the Dodgers against Michael King. Like, I think the Rockies will be more owned than all 4 of these teams. And projection-wise and price-wise, like, all 4 of these teams should be of the same caliber as the Rockies. Even though I'm not looking to pick on Michael King, really, for the Dodgers, but it is the Dodgers. I think I'd rather play the Padres, the Yankees, or the Braves than the Rockies today, just due to ownership and like those are actually good teams. They just not have the greatest of matchups, and they're not in Coors Field. But the Rockies are a bad team.
Right. So C's fine for Colorado. I think of those teams, if anyone's going to crack the A, it might be the Padres going into Dodger Stadium against Knack. He's been kind of good, but still largely unproven. Strikeout stuff's not overwhelming. Padres are a very low strikeout and good offense as well. And it's a big park boost, and they're not going to be popular, it looks like. So I think they might be my favorite stack on the slate overall.
Yeah, and also with like Arias like batting leadoff and Merrill in there. I mean, the stack actually is reasonably affordable, even with like Machado and Tatis in there. That it's comparable to the Cardinals. I mean, from a price perspective, it's comparable enough with the Cardinals that you could still play 2 8K level pitchers and still stack the Padres.
Yeah, there's a lot to like. Pretty good power. Yeah, all the up and down up good to me.
Okay, so where are we putting the Yankees against Kramer, the Braves against Severino, and the Dodgers against Michael King? And these are all these are expensive. These are similar price to the Rockies. I don't know about you, but I would personally, I think I would rank them the Braves, the Dodgers, then the Yankees. To me, the Yankees aren't a stacked team. To me, the Yankees are like, I play 2 or 3 guys from the Yankees, but rarely play 5 of them. And I think the Dodgers are kind of similar also. But the Braves, I think I think they have much more appealing options as far as like playing a 5-man stack. And I think I'd rather pick on Severino compared to like Michael King.
Agreed.
I don't know. What do you think about the Braves, the Yankees, and the Dodgers? I'm not sure if any of these teams are A-tier teams though.
I think the Dodgers, like by default, can be no worse than C because of talent, but I don't really want to pick on King, and they are pricey. So it's hard to justify them. The Yankees, like you said, not really a 5-stack team. I think you can make a case for D as a 5-stack, even though it is an okay spot. Atlanta, I would have above them both, as you would. So I guess they're a B, but I think they're kind of borderline B and C.
Right. I'm not enthralled about playing the Braves against Severino. Yeah. They're fairly. I mean, like at that point, I'd rather play the Cardinals, right? And then find a way to
I
get
would
different else.
definitely do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we got underneath this. We're going down. We got vomit stack of the day, I think. But I also think they're going to be much more owned than you think they are because people are going to be, you know, looking for value, like scrimmaging around and whatever. The Angels against Jonathan Cannon. If the ownership is low here, I would put the Angels in the A tier because I mean they're really cheap. Brandon Drury is like 2,600 or something. They have a 4.25 implied team total, which is like on this slate like the 6th highest or something, and it's the Angels. I'm never excited about playing the Angels. They're a bad team, but it's going to be a low scoring slate probably, and they're half the price of any other stack. It really depends on ownership, but I mean, at minimum, even if they're fairly owned, I still put them in the B tier because I'm not excited about. We're going to start talking about other teams in this range, right? In this projection range, and I'm not all that in. Like, why play some of these other teams when the Angels are like twice as cheap?
Yeah. I do think they're going to be pretty. I don't know if they're going to be popular though. Like it's a big enough slate. It's 10 games, maybe a couple of them, Ohapi and Neto, maybe. But the full stack, I don't think is going to be owned to the point you have to be concerned. So I would hear the case for A on them. I guess based on talent, like the opposite of the Dodgers, you could say they're capped at a B. So I'm fine with B for them. I do think they're a great stack on this slate, though.
Right. So if you need some value, if you need a value stack, a vomit stack, probably the Angels are going to be the top vomit stack of the day. Okay. Now we got a lot of mid-tier teams here in projection. We got here are 3 teams that are not in great matchups. And the difference between this tier and the bottom tier is not that dramatic. I mean, we're now getting into a lot of parity. We got the Red Sox against Bowden Francis, the Mariners against Framber Valdez, and the Mets against Spencer Schwellenbach. I mean, I'm much more inclined if you tell me that people want to play Bowden Francis today, I'm much more inclined to take a shot on the Red Sox. I'm not a big fan of playing anyone against Framber Valdez because even when he's bad, he doesn't really give up bombs. He just walks a bunch of people and then he gets hit. He gets BABIP plus hits. And next thing you know, he gives up 7 runs. But then you look at the stack and like no one has more than 10 points, even though they've scored 7 runs because it's all like, hit, double, this. It's never a home run. And the Mets are a little just too expensive against Schwellenbach that I'd rather play other teams. So I don't know. Would I be crazy if the Red Sox would be a B tier? I mean,
that's right.
Am I not thinking that?
No, I think that's right. Francis and Schwellenbach are pretty similar. They've both been pretty dominant against righties and just kind of average to below average against lefties. Boston's not as lefty heavy as they were earlier in the year, but they do still have a few of them. They still have power in the lineup and the whole leverage thing. So I think B is good for them. Similar case for the Mets. Might move them down to C because I do think Schwellenbach might be a bit more appealing as a play than Francis. But I do think they're okay. And then Seattle depends on Valdez's ownership. At 10K, I don't know if he's going to be chalk at all. So probably C at best for a 5-man Seattle, maybe even D. I just don't really see the need to go all in on them.
Right. I think that taking a one Seattle bat or something for a home run, maybe off the bullpen or something. I think that's perfectly fine. But I'd rather play the Red Sox over the Mariners today. Okay, now we're getting down into what? So we have 4 cheaper stacks. So these are the Vomit Plus stacks. We got the Twins against Ryan Weathers, the Giants against Brandon Pfaadt, the Marlins against Bailey Ober, and the Blue Jays against Brian Bayo. The Twins have the third highest implied total on the slate, but the bat does not project them very well at all in comparison to that implied team total. And the ownership is going to be there on the Twins. The Twins are cheaper than the Rockies. They're cheaper than a whole bunch of other teams. But to play them into ownership when there's other teams that cost cheaper, that project better and are less owned, I don't know. I mean, it's still a good spot, but I mean, I'm not going to put them like low, but Twins would possibly be considered by a lot of people to be an A or B tier stack today. But I think at ownership, I got to bump them down to C.
Yeah, if they are going to be popular, I think C is the max you can give them. It's not, I mean, it is 9 righties against Weathers, but it's not the most imposing group of righties. They do have power with Lewis and Santana and stuff, but if it's popular, it's a big enough slate to where there's enough else to get to instead. Of that tier, I think Miami and San Francisco are probably also C tier. I guess you could make a case for Miami as a B, comparable to the Angels, but it's just not appealing. That lineup is horrible. Yeah. So I don't know if you can actually, in good faith, put them in B ever.
Well, I mean, I'll put them in C. Like, I would normally put them in D, and now I bump them up due to leverage and ownership to C. So, like, I'll give you credit there. And I think the Giants. I mean, I put the Giants in the same spot also. Right? I mean, I think they're. I mean, look at the tier. Look at how we're organizing the tiers. Very similar to the pitching, where like there's a whole bunch of pitchers that are like, oh, here's 7 pitchers that are playable, but I'm not excited about any of them. There's a lot of like right in the middle of like, there's a lot of teams where, yeah, they're all viable, but I'm not excited about playing them. I mean, we have the Padres as the clear A tier team, but like these C tier teams are like D is always like, you're not crazy for playing them, but I'm not. I don't think like I don't mind playing any of these C tier teams, but I'm not excited about these teams at all. And you can probably say the same thing about the Blue Jays with Brain Bayo. I mean, do they also go in this C tier where it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, you can play a Blue Jays stack today. Sure. And I think it's viable. I don't even think it's crazy. And if I, had a lineup with the Blue Jays stack, I'd consider it. They're not even a D tier team. So like I even throw them in.
I'm at the bottom of this tier now just because Bayo's not going to be popular. It's not the greatest lineup either once you get past the top couple of hitters. So it's shaky for me. I'm not in love with Toronto. I would have them pretty low.
And how about we got 3 teams that are probably overpriced for their projection, but they're not bad teams. The Orioles against Clark Schmidt, the Astros against Logan Gilbert, and the Diamondbacks against Logan Webb. I mean, these are like, I'll put the Orioles in the C tier because I never mind, the Orioles are a good hitting team. They're way expensive, and they don't project well enough for their price. They're going to be low owned because of it. But they're very similar to like the Dodgers. Yeah, you got to put them in the C tier just due to raw talent, but I'm not thrilled about playing them at those prices. And the Astros without Alvarez today, and the Diamondbacks against Webb. Typically don't play pitchers against. Well, I mean, are the Diamondbacks an F tier team? Just because they're way too expensive.
And I don't think Webb's among the millions of 8K pitchers we have, I really don't think he's going to catch a lot of attention. So you're not really getting that angle with them. They're pricey. Don't want to pick on Webb in general. I do think they are probably the only F tier team on the day. And then Houston would be probably D tier. Don't want to pick on Gilbert. Don't really want to play Gilbert. Don't think others will either. No, Alvarez really waters them down. The bottom half of the lineup, once you go 5 to 9, is pretty ugly. So don't really see the need to play an overpriced and underwhelming team against a good pitcher.
I think we got 3 teams left. I'm looking at my second screen. We got the Rangers against Mitch Spence. The Rangers are fairly priced, but I mean they're like the 4th lowest projected team on the slate. I don't know. I keep on putting in the C tier, just like I don't mind the Rangers. I don't mind. I could play a Ranger stack today at those prices. Or do you feel the same way? Or are they a D tier team?
No, I think you could make a case even for B. I don't think Spence will be popular and the park is bad and no Seager. So I'm kind of talking myself out of B on the spot. But C's fine. It's not an imposing matchup and the lineup is okay enough. And there's really not much else to like on the slate. So C looks good to me.
The 2 worst teams in projection are the White Sox against the I can't pronounce Kocanowicz. I never know how to pronounce his name. And the A's against Eovaldi. Are you going to tell me that the A's should be D? Naturally, I put these teams in the F tier. But the A's, if you're going to tell me that Eovaldi is owned enough that the A's come out of the F tier and go in the D tier.
Yeah, they're D. I do think Eovaldi is going to be pretty popular, but don't want to play against him with them necessarily. And the White Sox probably also D. I assume people aren't going to play Kochanowicz, but the White Sox, they're horrible. The lineup really doesn't have much to offer. Kind of the epitome of a D tier team.
Right, but they're cheap, right?
Yeah, like you can play them instead of the Angels or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'd rather play the Angels. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And we got the tiers. And the tiers, see, our tier list, Taylor, says a perfect example of what I feel about MLB and DFS at this point in late September. Just turn it the other way around, and you turn it upside down. Let's get on to other. Football's back, and I'm much more excited. Taylor, last year was my first season playing NHL, and boy, do I prefer NHL to baseball. Right?
Yeah, I dabbled a little bit. I kind of did it mostly like during the NBA All-Star and things like that, or if there was like a 2-game NBA slate and hockey would have 8, I'll play hockey instead. It is fun. It is kind of underrated. I wish the contests were a little better. Maybe they will be, at least to begin the season, but I do enjoy it. It's a different kind of build.
Yeah, but I like that the contests are a bit smaller because I play soccer DFS, and soccer is even smaller than NHL. But it's a similar thing of where you could play 500-person field contests in soccer, and like if some random 2% owned player scores a goal, like you still don't need them. Like you don't like. Right. Like no one has the guy, or if he's in one lineup, it's not with the lineup with the guy that scored 2 goals that everyone has. Right. You know, like it's not like baseball. It's kind of you don't get the one-off guy at 4% that hit 3 home runs. It's hard to win first place because enough people are owned in 20,000, 30,000 person field contests. In NHL, I mean, I've come in top 5 in like the $100 level GPPs. Sometimes they only have like 100, 120 entries in it. And like, I got a line that scored like 3 goals, even though the Oilers put up like 7, and it's just like, no one had Edmonton 2, and it didn't matter. I just scored enough points. And it's very similar to baseball where you're primarily playing lines, right? Line 1, line 2, power play lines. So you're stacking teams rather than individual players. And so So we'll be covering a lot of Tuesdays, and also it's not every single, like, you can play NHL every single day, but they lopside the entire schedule. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays are like 13 games, and then every other day is like 2 or 3. And it's like sometimes I just skip those days. So it feels like very much like soccer. Soccer a lot of times is Tuesdays or Wednesdays and then Saturdays. So it feels like, oh, it's soccer today. Oh, it's hockey today. Rather than baseball, where it's like, yay, other
Every
than
day.
Thursdays. Sometimes Thursdays it's a smaller slate or
Yeah.
whatever. But like every day just feels like you're looking at the same thing every day, just constant. Oh, it's these teams again. It's, oh, this guy's underpriced again. This guy's overpriced again. Oh, I'm just like, boy, when does it end? And then, of course, once January football playoffs come around, we'll be talking about, can't wait for baseball to come back.
Yeah. Gearing right back up for it. Do it all over again. I would like to play soccer, like Premier League DFS. The only issue is if you're in the West, getting up at 3:30 in the morning to look at team news doesn't really work out. So had to
you're
forego it.
you're 3 hours. So like normally lineups come out here on the East Coast at 9 a.m., right, for the 10 a.m. games Eastern. So basically, you would have to be up at 6 a.m.
Yeah, it's a grind, so I'm willing to forego it. Just kind of
You
like
mix that
KBO
in,
was back in the
so
day.
you're in much better shape for late night Korean baseball, though.
Yeah, I did dabble in that during the dark days, but it's been a while.
Taylor, what stuff? You may not be on the show for a while. I don't know. Let people
Yeah.
know what stuff you have coming up, especially for NBA. People want to check that type of things out. What type of content do you do here, especially for premium people?
Yeah, I've been on core plays on the weekends and stuff in the past. We haven't gotten our schedule yet for NBA. I assume I'll be helping out with that again. You know, occasional stuff during the week, rankings, expert survey, stuff like that. And sure, I'll be on video content as well, like last year. So looking very forward to it.
Well, good. I'm not looking at NBA. I've sworn off of NBA.
That's
I've said
healthy.
NBA.
That's the healthy way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. Just cold turkey. Last season, cold turkey. Right? No, last season I tried for 3 days. For 3 days. And then after 3 days, and even by the third day, there was still like late scratch, lock scratch. I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like it's already February, March, NBA. It's only the third day. I'm just like, I ain't doing this to myself. I have better things to do than hang around and be stressed out from 6 p.m. Eastern till 11 till the last game starts. I could just props. I'll do props. And even then, it's like I'll look and I'll go, is there what teams I have that it would be unfathomable that there'd be any type of injury or anything. At least when you're doing that, you're betting overs on teams. Like, is everyone in? It's like, okay, I'm gonna bet the secondary guys overs, because worst case scenario, the main guy's out, and those are great bets, right? But you don't want to be taking unders with taking Bucks unders when Giannis is questionable, or Nuggets unders when Jokic is questionable. It's like I ain't doing this. So I learned to do that. I'll do prize picks, but the DFS stuff with changing 100 lineups and who knows and what I'm. Well, I did that, Taylor. I did that for like 4 or 5 years. Made a bunch of money, won a couple of GPPs along the way, but then for just, dude, I don't even know.
It's a big investment.
Do it
Yeah, it's a lot. You kind of have to sacrifice your life for however long, 6 months of the season. And it is refreshing with hockey. Like usually you get the team news or whatever, like the early skate, you know what's happening, you know who's playing. That's what I do like about baseball, is that generally it's pretty secure well before lock, so you know what you're doing. But
right, NHL, it's goalkeepers. NHL typically, and it doesn't turn all your lineup into dust. It's just this guy isn't starting, the other guy is starting, and you're just like a global replace if you have that goalkeeper and you're done. Like it doesn't really change the other team's projections that much. It doesn't change. Just like, okay, make sure to have that. Or an hour before, it's like, oh, this line mate is actually going to be on power play 2 instead of power play 1, but he's still on the main line, so it's like it's fine. Like worst case scenario, if a line changes last minute, like you just have a guy that's like less correlated, but it's not like, well, his value goes to nothing or this guy's value goes to insane amounts. That you typically
don't
have
really
all
have
that
to do
information
anything.
when you're building lineups.
Yeah. It is there's more peace of mind with building hockey lineups, I think.
Okie doke. Yep. Aaron says hopefully we have a consistent NHL DFS show this year. Well, only on Tuesdays, right? So Tuesdays here is going to be NHL day for October 8th moving forward. And probably until baseball comes back. We'll do an NHL show on Tuesdays. Tomorrow we got Alex on for a week 4 first look NFL DFS. And then Thursday, I'm on with Dean for Grinders Live. So there's no Thursday NFL show. Friday, I'm gone. I'm gone Friday. I'm gone next Monday. I'm gone next Tuesday. So no, when you don't see a thumbnail or anything, I didn't die. I didn't get fired. I'm on a trip to St. Louis. I'll be gone for a couple of days. So I'll be back after that with the Wednesday after. But tomorrow, NFL Week 4 preview, and then yeah, we'll head on up. We got more NFL. We got college basketball coming up. Also, we still got college football stuff. We got all the projections, all the tools, all the simulations here at RotoGrinders. Sign up for RotoGrinders Combo Premium Package. Click on that link in the description. Get $40 off your first month. And if you don't do that, at least hit the thumbs up button on your way out the door. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to know when we go live. 5 p.m. Eastern tonight, Grinders live for MLB, followed by Crunch Time at around 6:15 Eastern. Make sure you check the weather report. Roth will have updates during Crunch Time, and I will see you tomorrow, as you normally see me here, Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy, props, and pick'em on RotoGrinders Today.